Okay, so my primary focus with doing a lot of these clips and that is to hopefully constructively guide you with enough information in that to put you in the driver's seat of your own life and that, where you're not just feeling kind of subjected to what's going on in the world and getting hammered left, right, and centre and that, where actually you're coming back to that space where you are the creator and how to turn inwards more, because we throw around these bumper stickers everywhere where it's like love thyself. It's like, what does that mean? Be the change and look within and clear your karma. And, it's like we just throw these kind of words around without really kind of having the context and the examples that kind of enable us to make sense of what those things mean, like even when we talk about the sixth sense or we talk about, like it's all just a lot of words we throw around for the most part, and so a lot of these clips are really about putting you in the driver's seat, and getting you to start kind of looking inward and engaging with yourself at that deeper level and really having more clarity and understanding on why you're going through the experiences that you're going through or and we covered that off a little bit the other day, when I was talking about the law of karma, which is the cornerstone to it all, which is karma just means cause and effect, and you're causing a lot of the experience, all the experiences that you're having in your life because you are, questioning something at the time. And so I talked about how you can look at your situations and bring it back to the inquiry of, what have I been wondering about? What have I been questioning lately? And you'll be able to join those dots, like at the very surface layer, we do it, wonder what John's up to and then run into him at the supermarket, or we wonder about that new book to read and start seeing it in shops, all of that sort of stuff, and you'll start kind of looking within a lot more naturally because you'll find all of that quite interesting and your world will start making a lot more sense in that. Now, in terms of being the driver's seat of your life, well, you're going to need to own your own feelings and not buy into other people's. So it's like, what does that mean? Okay. So, yeah, anger's a tough one, I think, when we get angry and that, but it's like we've got to bring everything back to ourselves, like if you're angry at yourself about something, like you might think you're angry at that guy down the road for ripping you off, and but you're really just angry at yourself for loaning him the money, you might be angry at that person for gossiping about you and that, but you're really just angry at yourself for telling them the things you told them. So it's not even about how much you trust others or anything. It's about consciously kind of deciding in your experiences of whether you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position or not, and so look at that, so, and while you're always externalizing things and getting angry at the guy down the road for ripping you off and everything, you're not going to bring it back to yourself and realize that you're just angry at yourself for loaning him the money, And so that needs to be addressed, It's like you need to learn from that, or there'll always be the next guy down the road to blame for ripping you off. So bring everything back to you, take ownership. If you're angry at yourself about something, and you'll find it. As soon as you bring it back to what am I angry at me for? I'm actually probably angry at myself for loaning him the money, and it is understood then in that moment, It's like there's something learned about you, and then you'll go on to go, actually, I've got to, look at what vulnerable position I'm putting myself in next time I want to loan some money, like I don't want to give it all away and then be really worried, like start looking at the positions that you're putting yourself in, rather than expecting the world to be good out there and and then blaming everyone else for what's going on with you, when actually, for the most part, we're doing it all to ourselves, And once that gets realised, and it's a bit of a hard pill to swallow to start with, but that does start to put us in the driver's seat of our own lives, And in that, it's like, in that looking inward, we're not so affected or feeling like we need to protect ourselves or get so defensive in the situations and circumstances that we're in, So I'll give you an example of this, right? So, because examples are really good. It's kind of like able to explain things quite well. So say I'm this married woman, I've got a bunch of kids and everything, and my husband comes home from work and he walks in the door and he goes, God, the place is a mess, what have you been doing all day, you know? Now I'm probably going to feel a bit defensive, and I'm probably going to feel a bit attacked, and I'm probably going to turn around and say something like this: want to know what I've been doing all day, do you, honey? You know? And then there's an argument and everything, you know? So that's without the awareness. That's buying into how someone else is feeling and that, you know, and it's not taking any ownership to my own. So that's without awareness, you know. Now, the word awareness means having conscious knowledge of, okay? And so my primary focus in everything I do, whether it's a reading or workshop, and that is always about self-awareness, you know. Like the spirit world is all beautiful to explore and understand and move through all of that. But actually, the real change that can take place and the real kind of understanding of your life and the making sense of things and where all that's going to come from, and that is from the in here part, you know. But you've got to start having a relationship with the in here part to start with, you know. I mean, we get caught up on everything that's going on out there instead of like, well, why am I moving in these experiences? Why have I got this going on? Why do I keep creating this thing? Why am I the common denominator? You know, like, bring the questions back to the self always, you know, and things will start making a lot more sense. So back to this example. So he walks in, house is a blooming mess. Now I've got awareness, right? So say that happens again. He walks in, the house is a mess. What have you been doing all day? Okay. So the first thing I realise is probably that he didn't moan about the house yesterday and it was messier. But anyway, aside from that fact, what I do always look at and always stay grounded in is how somebody else has been is about them. It's not about me. There's no need for me to get defensive or feel attacked or feel like I've got to justify myself or anything in that equation, you know? Because actually, how he's being is about him, you know? How I'm choosing to respond to that and what I'm doing with that, then that's my job to tidy up in there, you know? Like me feeling defensive, me feeling attacked, me feeling all those things, that's my job to tidy up. You know, so now my response is different to him. You know, instead of going, oh, what do you think I've been blooming doing all day? You know, now my response is, well, didn't you get finished in your day today, hun? To come home and pick on me about what I didn't get finished in mine. And he goes, oh, this guy was meant to turn up at 9 o'clock this morning, and I waited for him all day. And I said, so it was never about me anyway. You know, it's like we buy into too much, you know, and take everything so personally. And I think a good place to start is deciding not to take anything personally. You know, at least you can move through the experiences you're having a lot more freer just with that in place, you know. And so, yeah, I'll give you another example of that actually, or another couple of examples. Okay, so here's a little tiny one, right? I clean my fridge one day and that, you know, and I'm sitting there and a friend of mine comes over and he opens my fridge and that, you know, he's making a coffee, and he goes in there and he's like, whoa, wow, your fridge is really clean, mate, you know. And it's like years ago I would have gone, oh my God, is my fridge normally dirty? You know, probably not, but just for the example, you know, and made it about me, you know. Now I turn around and I go, something happened in your fridge lately, mate, to make a comment on mine. And he goes, yeah, blimmin' Amy last night, she spilled the milk in it and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, and so, yeah, so it's like never about me anyway, how someone else has been, how I'm reacting, how I'm responding. Oh, yeah, that's about me, you know. And when you start to turn inward in this way, and that can make you, I suppose, start to feel a little bit self-absorbed in that, you know, because I mean, if I had someone come up to me and start yelling at me and that, so I don't even care what they're going on about in that. Like, I'm more wondering why I've created this experience, what I've been questioning lately, what I've been, you know, like I'm in all of that. And even in my readings and that, you know, like, I couldn't give a crap about your content. We've all got content, you know. We've all got experiences going on, and it'd be pretty hard pressed to surprise me with anything at this point. And so I'm never interested in your content. I'm interested in what I'm doing, you know, like in this process of fine tuning and familiarizing myself with the the process I'm in, what's taking my thought to that subject, what's bringing that in, what's happening with that, and I'm learning all of that. And because I'm not focused on your content, it's like you never feel judged by me or anything, like I know that because at the end of readings and that, it's like, well, people ask me some pretty big questions of that, because it's like they haven't got that. There isn't an energy sense that I am judging the content in any way or anything, because I'm not, because actually that's all your stuff, and I'm in every experience first and foremost for me. And I know that does sound a bit self-absorbed and everything, but I think when we can all get on that page, we actually have so much more to offer each other in that, And readings are really good to get because at times it's like our emotions cloud our judgment, and even for me, where it's like, I don't know if I'm getting something because I want that or because it's going to happen, or, like I'm not sure because I'm in the experience for myself. And so sometimes it's good just to get a reading to have that person to bounce off, because when you're told something back to you and that, it either clicks or it doesn't. Somebody said to me one day, what makes your answers right? And I go, well, the credibility that you feel them with, like that's what's going to make anything right in this life, is the credibility that you're feeling it with, because the truth's inside of you. It's always there, always been there, always going to be there, and so, and let that be your decider always, over whether something feels right or doesn't, or like trust that, start to kind of engage with that aspect of the self a lot more, So a good way of being more in the driver's seat of our life is start owning your own feelings. And stop buying into other people's. That's their journey, that's their job to tidy up. Like sometimes in readings, people are like, well, I just want to know why he did that or why she did that, or, well, I just want to make sure that they get what's coming to them and their karma, which is a little bit ego-driven in that. But it's like, I sit there sometimes and I'm like, who cares? Who cares? Like, actually, why aren't you more interested to find out why you're aligning to situations and that? Like, what's going on with the relationship with yourself at the moment, and that's really the only place anything's going to get figured out, guys. So start looking within. Start going, anything that you're angry with at the moment, go, what am I angry at me for in this? So sometimes I get angry, I used to get angry at my husband, like, well, mow the lawn, like, when are you going to mow the lawn? I mean, the grass was the same length yesterday. I didn't have an issue with it, but today I have, and it's really just because I haven't got my washing up to date, so I'm kind of picking on what he hasn't got up to date, because it's always about the self anyway. And like that first equation, it kind of stops any argument or any kind of, any of those responses of needing to defend myself or feeling attacked or any of that. It's like all of that's out the way. And so we start to communicate a lot more effectively in our lives with others when we start communicating more effectively with ourselves, because it's always got to start with the self. Yeah, so hopefully this made some sense.